My name's Harry, I'm 33. I've always been the type of person my family assumed would fold when things got tough. The quiet one, the agreeable one, the guy who never causes a scene. And maybe I used to be that person, but everything changed when my grandparents passed away and left their entire estate to meet the house, the savings, and the shares, all totaling just under $900,000. Something inside me shifted. I began noticing things. I started listening carefully, and most importantly, I began to plan. Because I knew exactly who I was dealing with. My family. My brother Tyler is 3 years younger than me, flashy, loud, charming, the kind of guy who can lie straight to your face and somehow still convince you to loan him $5,000 for a sure thing. He slipped away from so much over the years. Maxed out credit cards under mom's name, a borrowed car that mysteriously disappeared, and every single time, mom bailed him out, said he was just figuring life out. But me, I was always expected to be the responsible one, the backup plan. The safety net. And I was done playing that role. When Grandpa passed away 2 years ago. A year after Grandma, he left everything to me. It didn't shock me. I'd been the one caring for them when no one else even bothered to call, let alone visit. I drove them to appointments, did their grocery runs, handled endless paperwork. Tyler, he'd show up on Christmas morning, snap a few Instagram pictures, and disappear again until the next holiday. When the will was read, and my name was the only one on it, I caught the look mom shot me, that tight-lipped, disappointed twist, like I'd stolen something that wasn't mine. That was the moment I knew the storm was coming. The house was the biggest part, a beautiful old Victorian with tall windows, deep red bricks, and ivy crawling up the sides like something out of a storybook. It had been in our family for 3 generations, kept in almost perfect shape. The neighborhood had exploded in value over the past 10 years. Every house around had been gutted and flipped, but my grandparents never sold, and now it was mine. Didn't move in right away. I stayed in my apartment across town while I quietly got everything in place. I had the house appraised, talked to an estate attorney, and created a trust, not just for the house, for everything. I told no one, not Tyler, not mom, no one. I kept the original deed locked away and placed all assets, house savings, everything into an irrevocable trust with me as the trustee. I even moved the utilities under a business name connected to the trust. It cost me a little extra, but I didn't care. I knew exactly what my family was capable of. I knew they'd try something. For a while, it stayed quiet. Too quiet. Tyler texted now and then, asking if he could use the pool. There isn't one. Mom started dropping hints about how unfair it was for one person to get everything. She even said, well, your brother was always Grandpa's favorite, as if that changed anything. I just nodded, changed the subject. I didn't argue. I let them think I was naive, like I hadn't protected myself. Things escalated last month. Tyler started posting vague social media stories, big things coming. Next chapter loading. That nonsense. Then one Saturday, I was doing yard work at the house. Nothing major, just basic landscaping. When I saw mom's car pull into the driveway, Tyler hopped out first, all sunglasses and grins like he was walking into a photo shoot. Mom followed, clipboard in hand, smiling like she was about to cut a ribbon on a new property. Hey man, Tyler said, clapping me on the shoulder. We've got news. I just raised an eyebrow. Mom stepped up. We talked to a lawyer. Turns out Grandpa made a mistake. The house should have gone to both of you. But don't worry, we took care of it. I stared at her. Took care of what? Tyler pulled a folded paper from his back pocket, waving it like a prize. We already had the title transferred. To my name, it's done. You've got till Friday to pack up. No hard feelings, right? I didn't respond right away. I just stared first at him, then at her. Their smug expressions, their unbelievable audacity. My heart was calm, I wasn't panicking. Honestly, I almost laughed. They really thought I was that stupid? I smiled a small, polite smile. The kind that makes people uneasy. You really think I'd let that happen? Tyler chuckled like I'd told a joke. It already happened, dude. You've been living in fantasy land for too long. Mom softened her tone like that would somehow make this okay. We're not trying to be cruel, Aiden, it just makes sense. Tyler can manage the house, maybe flip it. You've got your own place anyway. This works out for everyone. I just nodded. Got it. 2 days later, they showed up with a moving truck and 2 hired movers. I was waiting for them. They pulled into the driveway like they owned it, shouting, laughing. Tyler sipped his coffee from the passenger seat while Mom directed the movers toward the front door. Then they saw the porch. I was standing there, arms crossed next to a tall man in a navy suit, holding a thick folder, a badge clipped to his belt. They froze. Tyler stepped out, confused. What's going on? I stayed silent. The man in the suit answered. Are you Tyler Green? He asked, glancing at the paper in his hand. Yeah, who's asking? Tyler mumbled. I'm with the County Office of Property Records. I represent the legal trustee of the East Thornhill Estate, this property, he said, gesturing toward the house. The deed has been held in trust since last April under Aiden Green's management. Any recent ownership claims including a fraudulent title transfer are invalid and criminally prosecutable. Tyler's face drained of color. Fraudulent. He looked at Mom, panicked. Mom stepped forward. There must be some mistake. The old deed was still in Grandpa's name. You assumed wrong, I finally said. I never kept the property in my name. It's owned by a trust, that's why you couldn't find it. You went to some shady title mill and faked a transfer based on outdated records. The man in the suit nodded. We've already filed a fraud report. Normally, we'd issue a warning first, but given the circumstances, bringing movers, attempting to evict the trustee, we're moving straight to enforcement. Enforcement, Tyler stammered. It means if you step foot here again without my permission, you're trespassing. And if you try to mess with the trust, you'll be facing criminal charges. There was a long, heavy silence. The movers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them started quietly backing toward the truck. Tyler finally barked, "We're leaving, let's go." He didn't look at me again. Mom hesitated, like she wanted to say something, maybe one last manipulation, but she didn't. She followed him without another word. The truck pulled away, and I stood there, listening to the silence. The same porch where Grandpa used to sit with me, teaching me to watch not just what people say, but what they do when they think no one's watching. He was right. I'd watched, I'd acted, but it wasn't over. 3 days later, I got a letter. Formal, typed, signed by a lawyer hired by my mother. She claimed emotional distress and argued that, as a direct descendant, she had a moral and familial right to part of the estate. She demanded compensation for the mental anguish of being excluded. Attached was a list of what she called reasonable reparations, $150,000 in cash, joint ownership of the house, and a monthly allowance until further notice. I stared at that letter, numb at first. My hands trembled not from fear, but from rage. She wasn't done, and now, neither was I. I must have read that letter 6 times. The first few reads, I tried to believe she didn't mean it the way it sounded, but by the 6th, there was no more pretending. My own mother had signed her name to that letter. She'd tried to bill me for not letting her and Tyler steal what my grandparents left to me. It wasn't even about the money. It was the entitlement, the nerve to call it a misunderstanding one day and file a legal demand. The next like this was just some business dispute between strangers. The phrase that stuck in my head, louder than anything else written in the letter, was familial obligation, as if loyalty was only supposed to flow one way upward, toward them, like I was born to give, and they were born to take. I didn't respond right away. I knew better than to react emotionally. I called Mr. Levon, and he connected me with Sonia Cruz, a sharp estate attorney. She was in her early 40s, calm, soft-spoken, but focused like a razor. She didn't waste time, bluffing she never needed to. I handed over everything. The trust documents, the letter from my mother's lawyer, even screenshots from Tyler's so-called next chapter posts. Within a day, Sonia filed a formal cease and desist against both of them. The message was crystal clear. The trust was legally solid and fully shielded. They had no ground to stand on. But Sonia didn't stop there. She dug deeper and uncovered that Tyler had forged several signatures during his attempt to transfer the title fraudulently. He'd even used a fake notary stamp and filed the paperwork through a shady online registry in another state. Thinking it would slip past our county records, Sonia contacted a fraud investigator at the county DA's office. Turned out they were already investigating that registry for forged filings. Tyler had unknowingly handed them an easy target. I still hadn't told them I knew. I figured I'd let them keep digging their own hole if that's what they wanted, and they kept digging. 2 weeks after the cease and desist, I received another letter. This one wasn't formal. It came directly from my mom, typed, but clearly written in her voice. Loaded with passive-aggressive phrases like, "After all I've done for you," and "You were always the quiet one, and I raised you to be better than this." She ended it with, "You can fix this right now by doing the right thing. Families shouldn't need lawyers to settle what love and understanding can fix." I didn't reply. Sonia advised me not to. I just forwarded the letter to her, adding it to the growing file we'd built just in case we needed to seek a restraining order later. Then came the twist. One morning, I went to check my mailbox and found a folded flyer jammed into the door handle. It wasn't addressed, just shoved there like a prank, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. It was Tyler's. The note said, "Hope you're enjoying playing King of the Castle. Just remember who's really got your back when the money runs out." I laughed. Not a big laugh, just that quiet, tired laugh you let out when someone truly doesn't realize how far you've grown past them. I scanned the note and added it to the file, but I also made a decision that morning. I wasn't just going to defend myself anymore. I was going to push back. Tyler was already on the radar for real estate fraud. But Sonia explained that if we could prove harassment or malicious intent, we could take things even further. And then I saw another opening. Tyler had recently landed a flashy new job at a boutique real estate firm, the kind that focuses more on their Instagram feed than their legal compliance. I dug around and found they prided themselves on transparency and ethical property transfers. Would they still be proud if they knew one of their employees had tried to steal a house using forged paperwork? But I didn't rush. I waited. Then something unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, my cousin Megan, who I hadn't spoken to in years, messaged me on Facebook. "Hey, can we talk? Your mom's been calling people. I thought you should know." We met for coffee the next morning. Megan was always a straight shooter that hadn't changed. She showed me voicemails, texts, even group chats with other cousins. Turns out, my mom had been spreading a story. She was telling people I manipulated Grandpa in his final years, that I convinced him to rewrite the will when his mind was slipping. She even hinted I might have taken advantage of him emotionally, legally, maybe even medically. It was a full-on smear campaign. I felt sick. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about the house anymore. This wasn't even about the money or Tyler. This was about control. My mom couldn't handle the fact that I'd told her no, that I'd protected something from her. And now, she was willing to destroy me for it. Megan looked at me and said, "I don't believe her. Neither do Jaime or Chris. But she's not going to stop. She's calling everyone." I nodded slowly. "Thanks for telling me." That night, I barely slept. I realized if my mom was willing to lie to the entire family just to pressure me into giving her what was legally mine, I had to be ready to end this for good, not just for me, but so she and Tyler never pull this stunt again. What I did next, it didn't end with lawyers. I spent the next 2 days planning. By now, the trust was airtight. Legally, I was protected. But the smear campaign was spreading fast. Megan's warning came in time, but my extended family was already starting to pull away. I started getting vague texts from distant relatives, just checking in. Heard some things, hope it's not true. I could see the trap they were setting, the whispered guilt, the slow family pressure, the eventual expectation that I'd be the bigger person and just give up something to make peace. I wasn't walking into that. I was going to set my own trap. With Sonia's help, I drafted a legal declaration, detailed, backed by evidence. The forged title application, the fake notary stamp, the property seizure attempt, the harassment, letters, the smear campaign, all of it. I attached Megan's screenshots, voicemails from my mom calling me a greedy manipulator, the ridiculous $150,000 demand. But I didn't just file it away. I sent a clear, simple version to every single relative my mom had called. I wrote a short message. "Hi, I know you've probably heard some things. Before you make up your mind, I wanted you to see the facts. Backed by documents, not stories. I've attached everything you need. I won't be discussing this again. If you believe me, great. If you don't, that's your choice. But now, you have the truth in front of you." I sent it to 27 people. The fallout was instant. Within hours, 5 relatives I hadn't heard from in years texted me. Most were apologetic. A few were horrified. My Aunt Robin, who used to worship Tyler, called me crying that night. She'd believed every word until she saw the documents. She said, "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. Aiden, I'm so sorry." I told her I didn't need an apology. I just wanted her to understand why I did what I did. Not everyone changed their mind. 3 relatives on my mom's side doubled down, claimed I'd twisted the story, even said I might have faked the documents. But for every one of them, 5 others thanked me for telling the truth. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. I submitted a tip to Tyler's company through their internal ethics lining, anonymous at first. I sent a full, organized PDF, report exhibits labeled evidence attached detailing the fraudulent transfer attempt, the fake documents, and as potential real estate crimes. I thought it would take a week. It took 2 days. Tyler's name vanished from the company website before the end of the week. A college friend of mine now working in real estate compliance told me they'd immediately launched an internal audit. They found other issues in Tyler's files. He wasn't just fired, he was reported to the state board. His real estate license was frozen. Pending investigation. He called me 11 times that day. I didn't answer once. That weekend, he posted on Instagram a black screen with the words, "Some people will ruin your life and pretend they're the victim." He didn't mention me by name. He didn't have to. Everyone who mattered already knew the truth, but it wasn't over yet. 2 days later, I got a formal notice from the county. A warrant had been issued. The forged title application triggered criminal charges, attempted property fraud, submitting falsified documents to a government office. I stared at that notice for a long time. I never wanted this ending. I didn't want to destroy him. I didn't want any of it. But he forced it. And now, there were consequences. The arraignment was quiet. No headlines, no big courtroom singe, just a court date, a public defender he couldn't afford, and a future full of legal headaches. He wouldn't go to jail likely, just probation, fines, maybe community service, but the record would follow him. Getting jobs would be harder. Earning trust would be harder. And that skeleton would follow him into every future deal. As for my mother, she went completely silent after the truth came out. She didn't call, didn't apologize, didn't ask for money again. But about 2 months later, I got a letter not from her lawyer. A carefully worded note stating she was withdrawing all legal claims against the estate, and was respectfully requesting no further contact. She'd given up. She knew she'd lost. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel joy. I felt free. Night, I walked barefoot through the old Victorian house. The wood floors were cool, the air smelled faintly of cedar and old books. The house was finally peaceful. It was mine. I stood in the den where Grandpa used to read the paper in his big leather chair and whispered. I kept it safe, just like I promised. I think he would have been proud. In the end, I didn't just keep the house, I kept my dignity. I kept my future. Tyler lost his career. My mother lost her story, and I gained something they never expected, the strength to stop being their victim. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the quiet one anymore.